Let's see. Thanks.
Public channel.
Oh, thank you.
By the public, I mean my wife.
Yeah.
She just texted me. Why she's watching it, then you do, I don't know.
Oh, I haven't been to the meeting. I apologize.
Mike does saying that. Yeah, he just texted me and been like, it was something wrong, yeah. Alright.
Okay, set. So this is the plan for 33 parking spaces that originally included 2 parking spaces in this landscaped area. But the planning board, they, you know, in the Gateway District, they wanted more greenery. And hence why we're now meeting with you, because they suggested that we speak to the zoning board about a variance for 2 spaces.
Yeah.
So originally we had a restaurant, which you guys are aware of. And we've taken the restaurant out and, we had 30 spaces. We were able to activate this, there's a space right here. And this was always to be activated because they originally wavered a couple of spaces because of the different times of day that would be on property, you know, coming and going to the restaurant, et cetera. So that gave us 31. This is the 31st space, and what we're here today to ask for variance for is the 2 spaces. What else can I tell you?
I think that, and that, if I remember correctly, that's even rounded up, right? The formula.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
I think I needed 32.2.
32.2.
Yes.
And that calculation is done by essentially full hotel and full staff.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, everything was pretty clear.
These are lovely.
Yeah,
Thank you, yeah. No, we're
Can I ask
super
a couple of
excited.
questions about the project?
Absolutely.
I'm sorry, I missed the last meeting, so.
No
My
worries
question.
at all. Absolutely.
Will you have charging for electric
Yes.
cars?
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I think.
These
4
are-
charging stations.
And will you have a bike rack?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna,
And then
we're
indoor.
gonna, we're gonna have we're gonna have indoor storage for bikes. We're gonna go really hard on the bikes. We love the idea, you know, I thought we're on the rail trail, obviously, people are gonna use these bikes, we're gonna be all over that.
Do you know where the bikes will go? I see it's
Um,
inside.
Yeah, we do. We're gonna have inside property here. And then it's gonna be very relatively close to the lobby area, like in this particular area here, but I think the requirements 12, if I'm not mistaken. But I think we're gonna have probably double that.
Will they also be like outside, if I'm riding my bike down from my house, will there be a spot
Outside?
outside? Yeah,
Absolutely.
okay.
Yeah.
I was trying to make sense of where that would be.
Yeah, so. Originally, we were gonna have it be over in this particular area.
Mhm.
That could still exist there for sure. It's close to the rail trail, which is kind of nice.
Yeah.
And then, you know, over here is obviously the landscape area, so that probably wouldn't work, but,
Are you imagining any electric bicycle charging?
oh, yeah,
Like bicycle charging instead of?
yeah, bicycle charging. So I think what we'll have is we're gonna allow our guests to use bicycles that don't have electrical charging. But then, you know, they'll,
Oh, I
if
see.
they want
That's why
electrical
there's
charging,
like
the
your
indoor,
bikes
exactly.
versus external bikes.
That's right, but I mean, external bikes, we're gonna have a rack of them for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah,
But, and then we'll probably end up charging for the electric bikes. There's a gentleman that I rode with in the Kingdom Trails that I met years ago, and he and I have been talking, we just haven't gotten around to making this program yet, but you know, I've ridden with him, he was an instructor to me, and I think he's probably one of our guys, but not to mention the fact that I've worked with, both outlets in New Paltz and Plant to continue to work. We'll probably work with them. They'll most likely get most of the maintenance of our bikes, so.
yeah.
I do, like, I know that this is the reason that we lost the two spots, coming around that curve, having spots not
Yeah,
into the,
Really.
like, that's.
Yeah.
that's Better to me than the spots.
yeah,
I think
and
it
the
is.
sidewalk awesome too, because getting around that corner without is not fun.
Yeah,
So,
well,
yeah,
Safety and privacy.
Yes.
yeah,
yeah, we're looking forward to taking that building down to make it safer, safer place.
yeah,
Having
it
it
is
set
now.
this way, so that's
yeah, you can see,
nice, yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
you'll be able to see, the line of sight's gonna be so much better.
yeah. No, we're very happy with everything you've done.
Thank you.
It looks like we wish you, I wish you luck.
Yeah, no, we're
And
super
same,
excited
we
about
wish
it.
you luck. I think we all wish you luck, like they're doing everything right.
Thank you.
Right.
You're building all the sidewalks.
Yeah, that's really nice.
Seeing it from the visual line of
Yeah,
things the town has to offer.
yeah, no, this is
Would
good.
anyone ever consider asking you to move the building closer to the sidewalk, or are you just using that existing back building?
They did, but for safety purposes, line of sight was, I think, trumped everything else.
Okay. And just so you guys know, that's typical for village type of developments nowadays, try to put the parking in the back and the building up
Right.
close to the sidewalk. But this had special considerations. 'cause of the
Yeah.
views and-
I think also
I'd
too,
rather
if you want,
have
you want it next to the rail
building-
trail, or do you want to have the building next to the rail trail, or next to the road? There's two lines of
Yeah, that's true.
communication. You look at that.
Well, is the rail trail considered kind of, is that a building front in any way? Is there, are you interested, are you using that facade for any purpose toward the rail trail?
Yeah, there'll be private outdoor space for all guests on.
So you're considering that, and the area between is gonna be like an important part of the presentation?
Yeah, it'll be landscape, it'll be thoughtful, natural material, yeah.
You had mentioned doing something with the existing, the train track that were left, is that still?
Yes, in fact, I met with Tom, I think he's head of historical
Yeah.
committees.
Historical
Like,
Facing the-
half hour ago, we talked about, we're gonna donate whatever we don't use to him, because he's got a project that he wants to get involved in. And then we're gonna take about 20 feet, and we're gonna do,
Is it, yeah,
where is it? Right here,
yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, so I mean, it would probably even be possible as far as like you were mentioning, like not necessarily for guests, but just incorporating into the community. If this is already an area of interest to like incorporate a public bike racks on the side of the rail trail,
Yeah.
it would be amazing.
Exactly, except that, our blue line represents our property line.
Right.
And, I don't know that.
So this
The
is-
Wallkill Valley Land Trust is.
Well, you're gonna have to landscape this, right?
We're gonna, yeah, that'll be well.
That's
they're-
tricky, yeah.
It's tricky with them, but, that's hence the reason why we have the stairs on our side. This is our property line right here.
Right.
So the stairs come up to the path, its path is theoretically is gonna go over a flush surface that it's basically like you're gonna cross over a relic crossing.
Yeah,
And, our idea was to do we're actually railroad crossing
yeah,
type signage and then interpretive signage. That's also part of the reason why the bicycle storage is inside our building as opposed to on their property.
it'd be nice if they would.
But we're gonna figure out a way to get bicycle storage rack outside. Maybe it's in the front. I don't know. Possible.
Yeah, it seems like you're making effort in all the right spots.
Yeah, and this hatched area in the front also is now going to be painted surface.
Right.
And Ryan Cronin's gonna help us with it.
Looks good to me.
Yeah.
Okay,
So You still will need to, and others will be in the public.
Yeah, we'll have to open it, yeah.
Open and close the public hearing.
Okay, all right, so I'm gonna do that right now. All right, so, I'd like the motion to open the public hearing for 11 Water Street.
Second.
I'll make a motion.
Vote? Aye, okay, unanimous. All right, is anyone out for the public to talk about 11 Water Street? Is anyone online?
One person online, if you want to speak at the public comment, if you could raise your hand or unmute yourself.
Is that Rich Olson?
That is.
That's our attorney.
Okay,
Nice.
so I think there is no one.
Okay. It's your attorney, so if he's not commenting, I guess you're okay with that.
I'm good with that.
I mean, do you have, I guess you don't have to pay him then, right? Awesome.
Nice.
He's like, unmute. Okay, so I motion to close the public hearing for 11 Water Street.
Second.
Okay, okay, vote, aye, unanimous,
If you're
okay.
making the motion, then one of us should second it, is that right?
Or are you asking?
Or are you asking someone's making?
I'm
it?
asking to, I don't know.
You can make the motion as the chair.
You're allowed to, but it's typical for the chair to ask for a motion, but if
Okay.
you want to, you can.
It would speed things up dramatically. It would speed things up dramatically if I
If
did
you
that.
just made it?
If I make the motion.
It probably took 5 seconds.
Dramatic.
Okay,
You don't run the hours.
Conversation.
I'm trying not to ruin that. Listen, I know some of you are charging about the 15 minutes. I want to save you some cash. Okay, so we're good.
Okay, great. Well, thank you, everybody.
So now we just have to go through the 4 factors,
Appreciate
or
it. Thank you.
Fine.
5 factors? Okay,
Well, you want to, you close the public hearing?
we close the public
And
hearing.
you did, run forward with variance, you should be entertaining the 5 factors. If you don't have them, I'll pull them up for you.
Okay, thank you.
Everybody's aware, by the way, that the 5 factors really aren't only 5 factors, that there are actually regulations outside that we gotta take into account as well, things like minimum variance, things like that. So we just form 5 factors, we're doing a list of 5 that there's nail around it. So we'll go through that. All right, here's the 5 factors. Number 1, well, first, the overall is that, which is, I think, the overall factor, which is not one of the 5, is the benefit to the applicant, if the variance is granted, is waived against the detriment to the health, safety, and welfare of the neighborhood or community, if it's granted. So here's the 5 factors underneath that. Number 1, whether an undesirable change will be produced in the character of the neighborhood or a detriment to nearby properties will be created by granting of the area variance.
No.
You want to start?
Just agree or disagree?
Yeah.
No, I don't believe the lack of 2 parking spaces would have substantial accountable of the way.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I don't think that it's gonna have a negative impact.
Yeah, I think this is pretty minimalist.
I disagree. I think parking is a real issue in the village of New Paltz. That's why I would say that we should fully recognize that parking is an issue in New
Right.
Paltz.
Yeah.
And the losses of 1 or 2 spaces, well, not material, not particularly material in this case, I think, should be noted that we need more parking.
Right.
I'm not sure what you're saying, you just solely based upon for this project.
So in general, I think the board thinks that there's no adverse impact.
Yes.
Although there's one dissenting opinion on that. Number 2. Whether the benefit sought by the applicant can be achieved by some method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. So does he have alternatives?
No, I believe you've expended all possible resources and done it in the most effective possible way to achieve your goal.
Make those 2 parking spaces in that landscape area was our answer to it. I don't-
Yeah.
Yeah, I want that.
I think that they're, like, as far as like stating whether or not there are, yes, there are possibilities, but I think that the positive impact of that outweighs the 2 spots, and the focus on some cycling gas as well, should be, in my opinion, calculated into the formula of the parking spaces in the first place.
got our occupancy too. It's not-
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Anyway.
In compliance with the town's interests.
Yeah, I think I'd rather be able to see around that corner than have cars parked on it, so I think that's better.
Is that basically the variance, the sight lines that they're concerned about?
No, it was, in the gateways language of,
To reduce
zone. No, it was the landscape to block parking from being
Oh.
seen from the road.
So this is a landscape, zone, a
Partition.
gateway zone thing to essentially to landscape, to screen the project in particular parking, that's the purpose of
So
it.
the planning board asked you to take out 2 parking spots and put some plants there so that it was more beautiful.
Yes, they
Am
did.
I understanding that is what happened?
That is, that was. Figured it all.
Yeah.
A little bit more of the background, just so you know, originally there was a restaurant planned. And so the restaurant was removed and there were changed to 2 rooms, so that's what triggered this sort of re-review. And then in the discussion, the planning board asked for this landscaping, so the second part of it is what the applicant was saying, but originally it was removed, it was approved to have a restaurant which needed 33 spots.
Yeah, it needed 33 spots, but they actually, they wavered the 2 spots in the front with the agreement that if parking became a problem, that we would have to reactivate those. But they
Okay.
never really wanted those spaces to be activated, and we didn't really think it was gonna be an issue
Okay,
until we really got back into the review of it all and realized that it could potentially be an issue. And at which point we were like, well, what are our alternatives? And the alternative was to scrap the restaurant. Because there's 15 within walking distance,
Mhm.
space was great, and to add 2 more rooms.
yeah,
And then the third spot of the 33 was right here,
Yeah.
which, you know, we were able to activate that.
yeah,
No, we went over last time just to catch up to date with what we talked about was the formula they use is a certain, depending on how many rooms.
Yeah.
Calculation of staff and then 1 car per every room.
Mhm.
So that's counting on the hotel and staff being 100%.
Yeah. And everybody driving the car.
And everything.
So the rationale for the variance, part of the reason why it's not gonna be a big, an impact on the neighborhood is because the sense is that it's not gonna take 1 car per room, that some people are gonna be biking there, either on staff or guests.
Well, yeah, so my rationale behind my opinion that it's not a massive problem is like a few parts is one is that. Being 100% in a hotel is
Or just full occupancy.
just full occupancy and full staff is not even the full day. Like in the evening, like staff cuts down.
So even if there was full occupancy, the cars aren't gonna, people are gonna be somewhere else.
Right.
And when you have people cleaning the rooms, those rooms are empty and those cars aren't there.
And then
So it's.
So you have layers of rationale. why-
the location on the corner of
Something.
a very popular cross
It's just one
state
locker room.
cycling route.
It worked
Is,
out to-
it makes me feel that some of these rooms
It was
get
just
occupied, and the fact that they're like
It was a really
incorporating that
tough
into their design.
Yeah.
And making it in some way, like a cycling focused. Design, has a positive impact, and then also there,
It's not gonna be.
it's definitely like the walking distance of the route. And with those three aspects. I
So
just
there's a
can't
number of
imagine-
rationales why you may not need the full amount of parking that the zone code would otherwise require because of the right. But it may not get full occupancy. If you do, then maybe people biking or taking the bus, and even then, maybe different times of the day, not everybody's gonna be in the same spot. So that seems to be.
Yes, that's my opinion, is that there's other things to take into consideration, just 1 car for one room, or yeah.
What, how many rooms?
28,
28 rooms, 30.
we will have 31 spots,
Yeah.
we're not asking for 2.
Yeah.
Wait.
Got it. Okay, well, is there a question I think to be answering?
The question is whether, we're still on number 2. whether although obviously these things tend to flow.
Yeah,
with
yeah.
each other. But number two is whether the benefits sought by the applicant can be achieved by some other method feasible for the applicant to pursue other than an area variance. So does he have alternatives?
Yeah, you just told us your alternatives. So yes, they're all alternatives.
That's a simple board, we'll put that down.
Okay. Do you have anything to add? No, okay, all right, so,
Three.
yeah,
Whether the requested area variance is substantial.
so it's 31 versus 33. Well, like
I would say the
6%.
notes.
One's 32 point something, right?
Yeah, 32.2. I would say to Noah's reference earlier is any parking in the village is substantial, but. Once again, in my opinion, there's other things to take into consideration, but as far as. Less parking spots, it's always substantial.
Yeah, I think because this is sort of by itself. The only people who are gonna be parking there are gonna be the people who are staying at the hotel.
Right.
So having extra space is gonna be like less valuable than it would be like the next door I can stop.
Well, they won't like benefit.
Yeah, it's not gonna, you're gonna have a lot of asphalt, it's not gonna, the lot's not gonna be full, it's gonna be similar to the situation we have now called condo complexes where you know, there's never a chance that they're all gonna be full. You know,
No, I disagree. I could easily see overflow from Water Street Market going down that way. If people park in that, is it an illegal parking lot across the street?
What would, I mean, the parking would be designated.
Right, you're not let people park there.
yeah,
I mean, if they're open spaces, you know, like,
This is a private parking.
it's a private parking lot, they'll be dead, but it's for guests first.
I guess in a way, I kind of reject what I was saying to that note, because. I don't think that it's a problem or substantial for this business. And since it's not trying to host parking to the rest of the area, then that's not really relevant. So,
I agree with, I think I could easily see that parking lot being full even as a restricted private parking lot. Private parking really works in New Paltz. I could see this being full on a regular basis. So I think it was substantial impact.
I mean, I'm looking at it saying, showing that this is specific to this business, maybe people don't park there, but I don't believe that should be the responsibility of the project developer to provide parking for people that are gonna be, going to Water Street or just walking around the village. That's how I feel. I think, I don't believe this is a significant ask in that. For just specific to this hotel, that's how I feel.
If I can say one thing is, if it became a problem, you know, where we were finding tons of people parking in our lot, that, you know, we're gonna have, a standard operating procedure for that. We have cameras on the lot, probably have signs, it'll be pretty clear that,
probably will give you their,
it'll be clear that
Yeah.
it's for hotel guests.
but
yeah, if it's, I mean, you're gonna tell them, I mean, that's what you're gonna do.
I don't really want to tell them, but yeah.
No, you don't want to, it's a some loss for you, but that's what, I mean, the reality of your business is your client's corner, and you're gonna take care of them first, I mean, that's what hotels do, and.
Yes.
And if the hotel guests can't park in the spot, you're gonna be like, okay,
That's gonna be a problem.
then we're gonna start telling people, so I mean, I don't. I
even
think
the,
that-
even the concept of trying to host a like slightly public, like bike rack outside, is not within your responsibility. It's like
It's a nice
There's
thing to
an
do.
event space in the hotel.
No, the event space is being taken out now, where it was a meeting and event space, it was, our model was to bring, small companies in and do, retreats, yeah, exactly, so. That event meeting space is now gonna be the 2 rooms,
Bedrooms.
2 suites, so,
Yeah, okay.
yeah.
I look at it in that if your hotel guests, the parking for your hotel guests was overflowing into Water Street Market, other places, that would be. Indicative to me that. You should have 33 rather than 31, but I don't necessarily know if that's, gonna be the case based upon all the things you mentioned earlier, there's a schedule that employees are gonna have versus guests arrival, so that you may never get that 100% from all of them.
I mean, the checkout will be at 11, you know, it'll always be late checkout, it's always 11, and then check-ins at 3, so in that period of time, like, that's. Yeah, it's a lot's gonna be pretty empty, unless, of course, we'll have stay over guests, which I'm sure we will. But we felt that having the restaurant, to your point, was gonna maybe make trouble for overflow into the other parking.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yeah. Right,
Right.
Was there, I want. These factors are not dispositive in and of themselves, so it's not like 3-2 or something like that in terms of, you know, how the 5 turn out, it's really stuff for the board to consider.
Right.
So, what I wanna try to do is, and so I wanna actually narrow them, you know, because they're all still on each other anyway, especially when you look at a detriment. And I would advise sort of looking at them narrowly, what I really wanna try to get is whether there's a consensus on any, you know, these factors, and if there is, I think it's fine, because ultimately the decision that can be independent of them, you can think 4 or 5 that they don't qualify and still grant the variance of, you know, if it's gonna be for the good of the neighborhood. So my quick question
Yeah,
is.
the actual defining question is, does the benefits to the applicant
That's right.
outweigh the detriment to the
That's right.
neighborhood?
So I just want,
That's
so
what
real quick,
it's on.
is there a consensus with you guys whether this is substantial? I'll tell you how what I would think about it if you're interested, but otherwise I just want to know whether there's a consensus or not. I'll just mark it down and move on to the next one, and ultimately a decision can be independent of all these. You're supposed to consider these. So I don't want, you know, do you guys think you have a consensus whether it's substantial or not? And if not, I'm fine.
For what?
Whether the variance is substantial.
Oh, I don't think it's substantial.
Yeah, I don't think substantial.
I think, yeah.
Yeah.
That's what we're.
With all that.
Because again, all the other concerns will certainly be considered from the real rule. Number 4. Let me just mark it down. Whether the proposed variance will have an adverse effect or impact on the physical or environmental conditions in the neighborhood or district. So again, we're circling back to that overall. Is there gonna be an adverse impact on the
No, I
neighborhood?
don't think so.
Don't believe so.
I don't think so. If anything, it makes it look nicer.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, if anything, it's substantially nicer.
Because they're using the screening, this is for the
Yeah.
purpose of putting the screening.
Yeah.
Number 5. Whether the alleged difficulty was self-created, which shall be relevant, but shall not necessarily preclude the granting of the variance.
I think this is kind of a rare case where it's not.
Yeah,
because it's-
exactly. I think it's
yeah.
planning board created.
I know, yeah.
We never have
I've got it strict being like, you don't have to build a hotel, it's not a problem for me, but in this case, it seems like.
Yeah.
This
Okay.
is you trying to have a solution to a problem someone else brought.
So,
Yeah.
having considered all these 5 factors and everything else, the next question is, as Noah said, does the detriment to the neighborhood, if there is one, outweigh the benefit to the applicant? And I would also ask the board to consider another factor, which is not in the 5, which I think is right here in the law, whether this is the minimum variance necessary to accomplish the purpose. So
Yeah,
crunching all that together.
I don't think this is a huge deal, and I think I don't think it's a big ask.
Okay, I don't think like. Doing as far as the minimum amount, I don't think doing like a half and half where you like give one more spot.
Yeah.
I think that, in my opinion, that's the correct amount. I don't believe it's going to affect the parking in a way that we're going to see. And I do think it increases the design of the area.
Yeah, I believe the benefit to the applicant outweighs the detriment to the community.
Is the board ready to make a motion to improve it?
Yes. Okay, let's make a motion to approve this. Second, okay. Should we do vote one at a time?
Yeah.
Okay,
Who's the second?
He may.
I made the motion that time.
Okay.
We're going wild here.
You made the motion, he seconded.
He said.
Thank you. I missed. it.
Yeah.
This vote should be on the record in terms of individuals.
Okay, you want to do roll call first?
Sure, Cody,
Approved.
Ian,
Approved.
Robert, approved, Noah,
Approved.
Sean.
Approved. Okay, all right, so there we go.
All right.
All right, that one's down. Thank you.
So thank you, really, thank you all for your time.
The attorney will write up a decision, they will actually vote on the written decision next meeting.
We've approved it tonight, we'll have a written decision next meeting.
Okay.
I want to say thank you for building a nice hotel in our community.
Thank you, really looking forward to it, it's gonna be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it too.
Good,
Checked all the boxes, like,
thank you so much, all, and for your time.
okay. All right, so now if you guys. Do I have to do a motion to get these people down there? No, just go on down. It's 197, 190, 151 Pleasant Street.
Thank you. I've been sorry to try and jump in earlier.
No worries.
Since I'm an attorney, we try and get paid by the word, so.
Yeah.
For the record, I am Tim. I wanted to do it. Law firm of Cuddy Fader on behalf of the applicant. I am joined by David Burke, and I'm speaking of David's. I appreciate your counsel having gone and done the difficult job of talking about the procedure. I now have the benefit of presenting all to you just a brief update regarding our projects, so that way we can kind of give you a sense of where we're going since we last met with you. As you mentioned, we are before you for a continued review of our application for a multi-family mixed-use project over on North Chestnut Street. We are seeking setback variances, which will hopefully be reduced in the sort of evolution of this project we have before you. So we did send you a letter on July 1st. It was a very short communication, just letting you know that, we're in the works of making these changes. We had a lot of procedural discussions with the council to kind of come before you this evening to kind of give you a sense. So I'll ask David in just a minute, but I'll give you the highlights here. So that way, again, pay by the word. But for the purposes of our adjustments, we have reduced the side yard setback on the southern side from 59 feet down to 36 feet. So that's about 23 feet or about 40% reduction in the setback. So again, we're bringing the building closer. Normally the code would. This is the previous sheet. I'll show you. I was gonna say.
that looks the same. You were about, me and Cody were ready to jump on you.
I get to, because that's the lead in Caesar to the.
Yeah, you should chose the real one first.
Was 59. Was 59, we reduced it down to 36 It's on the southern side, so it's about a 23 foot, I think that's math, reduction, and it's about 40% reduction on the southern side. We did that for adjusting the parking areas, so that allowed us to have some work. We're, of course.
So specifically, you move those spaces.
Yeah, I need to see that. I jumped right through.
Oh, sorry.
He handled the procedural stuff, so with that, I'll ask David to speak to this, and then we can certainly address it that way. I don't have to hide the ball anymore. So go ahead.
All right, we'll take over. Let's get to it. The idea was, I just wanted to refresh the memory as to the original.
So fresh.
So this is the, the foot of the building. We had parking lots on the northern side and two entrances coming in here. And as you said, this originally we had parking spaces along this side and we have a 59-foot setback to the property line here. Okay. So what we've done since we last saw you was reduce that and add retail. I should say there's two things we wanted to respond to based upon your comments last time. The first was three. Okay, you take the third. The first was the connection with the rail trail. So we're working on that. The development team is very much in favor of that. And we're looking forward to developing a bridge across the existing stream and a connection to the rail trail. We don't have time to show you that today, but we did want to at least tell you that we are certainly responding to that. Second thing on my list was this side yard setback here. So this is a new plan that shows an extension to the building, retail, right? So we're increasing kind of public access to retail on this side. And we reduced roughly 13 spaces here. We shifted the drive south, run right along the property line. We left a little bit of room for landscape on either side, buffer. And with that, traffic would enter or exit along this line and up into the parking lot. So that reduces the 23-foot addition in retail, 1,300 square feet now added to the building. We have a 36-foot setback from the property line.
36 is basically the width of the driveway plus a little bit of that landscape.
But the landscape buffer, yeah.
And the restriction, we're freshening with
It's
the
15.
50.
Maximum of 50.
Max of 50, yeah.
What's the usual width of a fire lane?
I think it's
So
close.
the fire lane, when I looked it up, it was 30 feet. And my thinking that maybe the thought process of the 15 was to have 15 and 15 from two sides of the buildings to have a shared fire lane. That's a theory on my part of why they picked 15, but so the width of the fire lane should be 30.
The applicant's confusion, if I may, from the original application that we initially discussed with the building department was the zoning code, the zoning table has a minimum of 30 feet. But then the code also has, because we're in the MBR district, a supplemental regulation that says it can't be more than. We necessarily agree how it's written, but that it can't be less than 15, but yet needs to be more than 30. So that was the issue that the applicant faced in dealing with this. And hearing the comments from your board and how this is managed, whether it's for Zero Place or for Trail Link or for Agway, we're working, consistent with the prior discussion that it can't be more than 15. So we're moving it now closer to the maximum.
But the way the code is written, you can't legally have fire lanes on both sides with the code without teaming up with another property.
Without another property,
Which is not.
And the code has an error. The text.
Can I see those plans, please?
The text states correctly, which is. The schedule chart states a 15-foot minimum. It's a mistake in the code, and we're trying to rectify that, but it's got.
Well, who's fixing it?
Well, it has to be done through a local law process, it's not as simple as just fixing it, so,
Is there
I'm working with the village board to fix that.
is there a process to, 15 feet seems, if the requirement for a fire lane is 30 feet.
Well, that's the legislative decision that they'll be taking up at some point, and then we'll refer it back to you guys. But there's a mistake in the.
Yeah, in the actual-
actual.
So is this gonna be
The
cable?
reason for it is because this is meant to essentially mimic like a Main Street.
Yeah.
So think about Main Street and.
And how
it's-
close is
Yeah.
I get
it's an old,
Is this gonna be
so if
cable,
I get-
or is this gonna be-
get there,
Is this gonna be just a
you know,
road?
modify codes is another question. Now we.
It's a fire truck access.
So that's gonna be
Stuff like that, so.
open
The
access.
share.
Yeah, no parking.
Yeah. Second resident may need to go on side.
Yeah.
That's fine, okay, I was just wondering if that was what you did there.
Inclusion mistake, but not.
Right.
So yeah,
Well, maybe
anybody else on the
here, you got a
discussion
better-
about that, we're
Can we put a
going
picture of
seeking
the
only
north?
for a variance.
Okay.
For the setback, meaning to be further away than the 15
Then
feet
15
21 foot farther than.
on the
The
sub.
question is whether the maximum is really, should really be a minimum was one they would have raised on appeal and convinced them to set that aside, we're all going to treat it as.
So for tonight's purposes,
See, that's the purpose of the.
The other answer to your question, though, is I'm not so sure that when the code was written, that setbacks were considering that fire access may or may not be there, because many buildings, you only need one fire access, or you can put it on one side or the other. But in this case, they need two fire access, because there's no ability for rear access. So some properties, you would have that ability.
so I think importantly, tonight, we're really, this plan is not full statement, right? It's that big, it's because we wanted to be back for you to know that we're fully trying to work with
Yeah.
what comments we've received from your board
Yep.
through this process. We've only had one meeting with the planning board. It's been referred to all of your agencies, sort review boards, et cetera. They're gonna provide comments. We're gonna implement hopefully responses to and or other materials in that new plan. Then this plan gets sort of finalized, put back into your arena for further consideration, hopefully, as we go down the road,
Sure.
teeing it up for a public hearing, maybe closer to September than in August, for example.
Does the loss of 13 spaces put you into a situation with your parking spaces?
To Taylor's point, there's still discussion amongst the development team and the planning board. Really haven't seen
Well, I
to
don't
answer your
want
question.
a solution to one
Yes.
variance
I know.
to create
Yeah,
another.
but
variance.
by code, strictly by code, yes, that puts us under the total amount that we need.
How much?
13. We're at 168, I believe. The requirement is 168 with the number of units. And so that would pull us back. Now, there's, as Taylor said, lots of discussion going on with other agencies, namely DOT. And so that total number is also reliant on street parking.
Right.
And DOT may have a problem with that at some point. So we're in this kind of strange place where we have to take comments from various people. And are working the best we can to
You
kind
were,
of find the best.
you were hoping to not have to worry against the spots on the side.
No, we want the street sweeping.
Yeah,
We
yeah.
think
but
that
it
is
wouldn't
the
know.
best scenario.
You said, so hundred and sixty-eight is your current need or your current have?
We'll currently have. And some of that is land banked as well. There's 8 spaces on the north that are part of that 168. And we've heard from the planning board that a land bank is looked upon positively.
What does a land bank mean?
It means reserving area for parking spaces, but not building them.
You would landscape it, would be
Oh, I
green,
see,
but if
I
ever
understand.
deemed necessary, you would then.
And would the planning board
I-
Like a whole
make a
bunch.
determination at some point whether they were necessary?
Yes,
And is that built in, like come back in a year or is it?
and if they find out,
We'll let you know if there's too many.
well, that's right, if they find out that there's not enough parking or the owner finds out there's not enough parking, we can always actually activate those spaces.
So you need 168 spots for this project as is.
Based upon the unit count now.
Yeah.
But that unit count is also in flux, quite frankly, because this area here adds a couple of units
Right.
dependent on the layouts on the second and third floor. So that's also
Oh,
something.
because it would add a non-commercial.
That's right.
And how many spots does this revised plan give you currently?
So 168 minus 13.
Okay, all right, thank you.
How many spots do you have in front on the street parking?
11.
And you think DOT might have a problem with that, but you'll find out later. Yeah.
DOT has been, so we're working with Craig Manning Engineering and Labella collectively for the traffic consultants to put together our traffic plan and prepare at least an initial traffic report, which looks at both traffic and parking. So in consultation, because it's a state road for 32, they'll tell us, they'll look at both access points and they'll look at overall sort of function of the site and it's sort of in relations with the Agway and the rest of the.
Yeah, and Agway is the other big caveat as well, because this, what's not shown on this plan is their entrance road is literally 5 to 10 feet away. So you've got two both way accesses
Yeah.
happening in the same location,
With rest.
which, could, depending on DOT,
Yeah,
could be difficult to navigate from a
yeah,
traffic point of
right,
view.
right.
We're absolutely entertaining discussions with the folks in
Yeah.
Agway, so that should be known. That we're working on it, but it's a private, that's a
Yeah,
private.
this is
really
fully based,
complicated
so that makes sense, that this is, like- is there anything that we need to like decide or think carefully about? right now?
So you said there were 3 things.
Dave, so we'll call it 2 things or two things, 2A and B. Dave worked the retail, the additional retail plus so he boxed them into 1, but I would call that 3.
Okay.
We added more retail, we brought it closer on the setback, and then we also, we've added, it's on this plan, but we have a rail trail connection. Piece of it, we discussed that with the planning board too. We kind of, before we met with the planning board or your board, we met, together with village staff and went through, hey, what was the brain damage from the newest projects? Starting with your place, and what were the things that, whether it was a roof deck, was it the trail connection, was it the parking, was it, where are we? So we tried to kind of balance what those comments were with how we can see and ensure to, learn from where it was, there was some pushback. And so we're sort of doing that now, but we're committed to, we're feasible to put the trail connection onto the.
How are you guys thinking about affordable housing, affordable units?
Well, they would be exactly the same as the others in terms of the design.
Yeah, It's 10%,
The village, manages.
The current mandate is 10%.
Turn 10, but I think it's going up to 15, is that right?
Possibly.
No, we're allowing for that.
As an active application, you would still be subject to a change of zoning during.
do you have any plans to have more affordable housing than is required by law, or will it just be sort of?
We haven't really got that far yet.
Yeah, all right, you still don't know how exactly how many units.
Yeah, so you guys have a lot of people pulling. I will say this, just to sum this up, we asked you to do something, you did it, we very much appreciate that. We are very concerned with the spirit of the law as opposed to how it's actually written. We agree with you, it's clunky. But the spirit of the law is to try to create walking neighborhoods and have retail space with that. And I know it's gonna be hard to rent those units out in the beginning, but they'll all eventually rent. And when they do, it's really cool. I was just in Zero Place at the coffee shop recently, and it was wonderful.
Yeah, and we took, and part of that, your point, Mr. That's where we, a lot of that, not that this design, I mean, David, he's done a lot, I used to appear before David, at the planning board of Beacon, so, to see it, it's something on his team now.
Yeah.
Go look through it on this one.
I'm not sure which I like best.
But we went there, we took pictures of each of these components, and we didn't want to create something, we want, there's something to be said about creating continuity, but also having nuance, like the prior application that was before you. These are things that are, so we're trying to implement, green and other components in the project, but it is an evolution, and we know that's why we're here early, want to keep working with you, so that when we come hopefully to a resolve collectively with you and the planning board, it's all.
And I'm sure that there are many people who are in Zero Place right now because they can walk their dog on that rail trail. And if you give people access to that, besides them having to walk 3 miles out of the way, your rents will be higher.
I know more than one person that lives in Zero Place that don't have a car and they rely specifically.
We have heavy, the prior applicant that was here for the hotel, we have the same internal, we have tons of bike storage internal to the building.
We saw that. That made us very happy.
Some of this, I'm sure we talked about last month, but I just wanted to.
I know very early stages, but is it your intent to wrap your storefront of the front around the side now that retail is?
Yes, this one.
Yeah, like the south facing side, the new south facing side.
Yeah.
Will the storefront like the retail appearance?
Yes.
Wrap around it?
Okay,
Okay, that's my, to your note of like connecting, so the difference between walking from place to place, if I'm over here at the last property. And I look over here and this is a wall, it doesn't really matter how close it is, it's less appealing than a storefront that wraps around.
It's a good, that would be a good place for the bar, the outdoor bar.
There
Have to do something with the roof.
there is
You need
a
a,
frustrating point, the fact that there will be this whole project, like all of these, we're talking to like 4.
I'm glad that you guys
It's gonna be like
are talking.
double lane.
I'm glad you guys are talking to the other builders, because this could be fixed. Half the plant yours, and now all of a sudden, it's completely fixed and also safer.
Unified.
Because, also, you're not gonna have in, out,
60 foot of.
whereas opposed to this, you put a barrier down the middle of it and slow everyone down with some concrete curbings, and it would be, I'm glad that would be the ultimate way to do this. Where you're, first of all, it would be cheaper, it would be safer, all the things.
This isn't your fault, but 60 foot of crosswalk with 10 foot of grass in between it is.
It's safe to say some people won't actually make that.
Right, yeah,
Right.
same. You draw both of those in another whatever and.
I mean, to Taylor's point, and I know you guys, you understand this, but this really is, the intention here is to make this a pedestrian friendly development.
Yeah.
It's all about open space, and the big move in the planning of the building was that we kinked the 2 Ls and pushed that in, so we can create this kind of public park.
Yes, right.
Feel, right, experience. And just to be able to connect that with the next building. With a single lane, potentially a single lane for both properties. Now really starts to allow people to experience both buildings as a single destination.
And that would be the way to do it.
Not to mention that, we're an outdoor community, and like with that, it's also allowing you for your residents to have the courtyard area.
That's right. Opening that up to the view.
Increasing people to be outside is.
Any public bathrooms contemplated?
Within the retail and or restaurant experience, there will most likely be bathrooms for those that use the retail but not specifically.
Not like a
in the plaza
24/7.
for like.
Or like people off the rail trail?
Right.
Yeah,
Not at the moment.
yeah.
I have personally benefited from Zero Place.
Well, and
I just get drunk.
laughing.
Well, they actually do, they do have public.
No, yeah.
And they have this, they have
From
it.
the rail trail, not from you don't have to go through a business.
Yeah, and it's an interesting setup because both the coffee shop bathroom experience is linked.
Yeah,
in a-
that's right.
In a bathroom vestibule, if you will.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well, and I will say that there is a real shortage of public bathrooms and for an outdoor community where people are out on rail trails and things. Not having to purchase something and being able to use a restroom is of high value.
And also as we draw the town part of that direction, that's only gonna hit farther.
That's right.
Farther away.
That's right.
But yeah, no,
So, you know, it's something I personally would like to see. I don't, not. You also can take that with a grain of salt.
yeah. Well, you
Yeah.
did what we asked you to, we appreciate that, and if you could figure out a way to do that, and that might also alleviate some parking issues too, because if you can not have that space between, if all of a sudden that space between the two buildings became parking, you get another 50, 60 spots, you know, because you're gonna get that'd be a tremendous amount of parking. You can move
And it's
buildings
not
closer
complicated,
together.
and you don't have two sides of a road.
Yeah, yeah, and then you're only walking across one thing. It would, I mean, if you could get the property south of you to like split this up and move your buildings closer, that would be epic. And it would increase the likelihood of you making
I
money.
would certainly be more comfortable with the great distance on the north. If we could find a way
I
to.
mean, even if we went to a single lane, shared between both buildings. You know, a tree lined entrance or something with more, outdoor seating.
Right.
Yeah.
And pedestrian amenity.
Put a cafe out there or
You
something,
know,
or-
well, and that was what this space was meant to be, and you might have seen on the renderings, that the outdoor tables and umbrellas kind of
Yeah,
came around this corner, which again, visually would pull people to.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, good luck.
All right.
appreciate you
Thank you for the-
attention to, like Sean said, all of our.
And thank you for the update. This was a weird, it's a weird moment. Have we ever had someone just update us and then just? That was straight, yeah, thank
Want
you.
to keep clear, so we will continue to do so.
No, that's it. That was actually impression. That's like weird.
I think we have one more person who wants to.
Like we want to be adversarial and we haven't been able to do it all day. It's really good. Okay, we're gonna have something.
Well, thank you for your time,
Okay, no problem.
and we will try to be back with something a little bit more formal.
Yeah, that's theirs. Do you want it? You can.
No,
Here.
Yeah.
It's fine.
Take that back.
Yeah, we'll talk to them, sure. Come on up.
Essentially, pools.
This is the full area? The one on the corner?
Oh, the trailer?
Well,
Hi, how you doing?
Hi, how you been?
We're doing good. We got through our meeting. So what's going on?
Names?
Um,
You wanna know?
My name is Ian Rackenberry.
Cody Clausen?
Sean Sullivan?
Noah Simon.
Problem Casey.
Okay.
And what's your name?
Ronald Turner.
Ronald, what? Sorry.
Turner, TURNER. SBL 86.26, that's 2-3. David Gordon. Same one? Yep.
So what's the problem?
The problem is that I filed an application for sewer, water, and electricity 9/17 of 23.
It's
To the zoning board of appeals?
Correct.
To the building department.
to the building department.
I put in a check for $250 with the application. That's the
Okay.
zoning board fee. We had at 21 Mulberry Street, a involuntary conversion of an asset, which is not a self-created hardship. We are without electricity, water, and sewer.
Okay,
That's against code.
60 days was the expectation of a response from the ZBA.
Okay, we don't. Okay, so the ZBA, you can sit down and relax, right? It's, the ZBA
I'll be done
is,
in a moment,
okay,
please. ZBA is health, safety, and welfare, to my understanding.
no,
That's what the law says.
So we handle and deal with appeals.
Yes, but my appeal was the decision of the building inspector.
so you're doing an appeal of a building inspector's
We just haven't.
interpretation?
Yes.
Okay, so we do that. We do interpretations of building inspectors.
Right.
So what did the building inspector tell you couldn't do?
Hook up electricity, water, and sewer.
Okay. So you asked for a permit to do that and he said no. Cause you have to get a permit and then he has to reject it.
He rejected everything, and he's gone.
Okay, so 9 months ago, you applied for a permit and it was rejected. Why was it rejected?
I would be a poor interpreter of his writing. To me, it was unintelligible and did not cite the law, which is why I paid the $250.
Okay, it's $500 to do that. It's $500 to, isn't it $500? I'm pretty sure it's $500.
Actually verified.
And
$250 is the receipt.
What, can I see this form? What
It
is?
may have been 250 at the time.
okay, all right.
Do you have the wording of the building inspector with you?
Sorry?
Do you have the message from?
No, that's in the file in there.
Okay.
It's in there.
So,
I know you're all trying to understand because it's all. in there.
yeah, so I guess my thing is, so this happened 9 months ago. Then you applied for an appeal of it?
His rulings or his response
I'm just curious about your stance on call.
was go see the zoning board.
Okay.
So I applied to see the zoning board and paid the check. Since that time, I've had 3 emails from the village to come pick up the check,
Okay.
plus 2 person-to-person encounters to return the check in front of the building inspector.
Okay, so I'm not really sure, but procedurally, he would need to apply for an appeal of the interpretation.
Well, you can't do that anymore. There's.
I'm just trying to give him a step.
Yeah, procedural, but this board, as a starting matter, should have the benefit of having the building inspector's determination. At this point, we don't have it, so we need that. If the application went through, we would have it. Mike, before him, Autumn would have processed it and given us the information, but we don't have it. It sounds like the application was rejected for whatever reason, that the appeal was rejected.
An appeal was rejected.
Well, the application, clearly the building inspector rejected the application, and then when Ryan filed the appeal, they didn't send it on to us, and they told him to come and pick up the check. So for some reason, Alex or whoever this person who did it decided this wasn't the right thing.
It wasn't Alex, it was the previous Cody, the previous.
So Cody, so going back like this.
Corey.
Yeah.
So Corey decided that that the
Right.
bill wasn't right, so come pick up the check, it's not a thing, he didn't get it onto us, so that's problem one is whether this appeal should have come to us, because Ron says that he's got an adverse decision that he wants to appeal, and he paid the money or he paid some of the money, maybe it's a wrong amount of money, I don't know.
So what,
Was the check cash?
No.
so what do we need to
The
do?
question is, who would inform anyone here at the village to email me 3 times that everything had been
Who emailed you?
rejected? Hold on, been rejected without giving a reason.
Okay, so
There is no reason.
So who
Give-
emailed you? Cause then we can,
Nicole,
Nicole emailed you.
right, who's in charge of Nicole?
And this is my understanding, because I just started in May, so my understanding it was not rejected. It was attempted to be returned because Nicole was asked to send the check, so it wasn't being held anymore.
Why was it not processed?
I don't know those answers. Like I said, I started in May. I'm not sure why.
And now the fee is $1,000.
And Alex is not aware totally of all the details either. So, I,
Well, the mayor is split, but he was informed at a village meeting.
So I guess our
Yeah,
really only path here would be to try to investigate to where this ended and why.
Yeah, we can't do anything because we don't have an application.
Right.
That doesn't mean to follow on, although the village shows not the process, but we don't, this board doesn't have any information.
Right.
So we cannot.
Do you have the original application that you?
I
sent?
have mine and you have the original in the drawer
Okay.
right now.
Are you currently living without sewer and electric hookup?
Correct. And running water. That's a violation of the state code. Furthermore, this is issued by the village of New Paltz. Handicap. This is my village tax bill. I'm insured under the Americans with Disabilities Act. Federal. That's how I get this. So. That's retaliation of coercion. This is a state law saying the village may not restrict the social room within the village firehouse for the exclusive use of the fire department to the exclusion of all others. That's a cooling center. Village mayor has said that it's closed. Not this room.
okay, but we're not, we don't.
I
we're not
understand. The
doing
point
it.
being, it's all on record at the village board. All of it. You've been, see, the good thing about this board is you have no conflicts of interest.
Well, when they come to us,
Sorry?
when they come to us through forms.
No, I'm talking about on the real property assessment rule. None of you are landlords.
Well, no, that's not necessarily true.
Let's keep it as simple as possible.
Yeah,
We need,
Well-
we need to get the application, if this is, if this is gonna be a thing,
yeah,
that's correct, but that's part of the application. When you apply for, when you do an appeal, you attach, this is what I'm feeling. So
Could we ask, the existing code enforcement
you
officer
have to, that's fine.
to review the application that is on file?
Yeah,
So we have a class action.
that's exactly the point. We need,
So
We
can you,
will
ask-
attempt to figure out
can you ask,
why I got.
Wait, I got talking heads. I like to say, I like what you all say, but hold on. I'm 1 against 6 and 1's missing.
I don't feel like we're on the opposite sides. I feel like we're trying to work together to help you resolve this.
I appreciate that. As unaccustomed as I is to public speaking. Your job was to find out who instructed Nicole, what was said at village board meetings. We know why,
let me be clear,
yeah,
representing this board, the board's job is to process applications for appeals and variances.
all right.
I'm not,
Are you the village lawyer?
No,
Who is? Who's the village lawyer?
I've forgotten his last name, Will, Frank, is it?
yeah, Will Frank. This board, Ron, this board, to the extent we can, we're either gonna process your appeal or figure out why it didn't go through. Right now, we don't know. So the first step, as Noah suggested, which I agree with, is to have the current building inspector give us either a report on this, either forwarding us the application or telling us why it was no good.
The original application was rejected twice. And the instruction was to file an appeal before the zoning board.
That's what I'm talking about, the appeal.
Yes,
I
that's
want to
what,
know why we don't have the appeal.
yeah, what happened to the appeal is what we're gonna find out.
That's right.
And we're also gonna find out who's instructing Nicole.
No, that's not what I'm doing. That's not, what we're not
I can
inspecting.
answer that question. It's the village clerk because she doesn't want the village to be holding a check for an appeal that was not processed.
Is that Summer? What's her name?
Quantum. Autumn was, Autumn.
The village
There's
clerk,
no.
Well, that's a
the village clerk is Nancy, and she is responsible for she's also the village treasurer. She's responsible for the funds of the village.
So you're trying to get water, sewage and electric hooked up on your property?
Correct, and the
Okay,
village
and-
code states that no, hold on, done my homework. Village code says you can't be living on a village property. Village, the owner of all houses, buildings, or property used for human occupancy, employment, recreation, or other purposes situated within the village of New Paltz is hereby required at his expense to install toilet facilities therein. New York State law says no village officer has power to waive or suspend enforcement of an ordinance.
So you're trying to get sewage, electric and water on your property?
And that's what the,
Okay, just let, you have to let me speak more than a sentence at a time, okay? So what you're trying to do is you're trying to get sewage, electric and water onto the property.
yes,
Okay,
why isn't it there now?
why am I what?
Go ahead, finish.
Okay. And so you filled out the forms, you gave a site plan, you paid the fees to do all this stuff. And then, is that what this check was for? Was the 250 check was for that?
The 250 check was to speak to the ZBA.
Was for the appeal.
Okay,
For the
but
appeal.
when you apply for all those things, do you have that application, the plans, all that stuff?
It's in there.
You don't have any copies of anything?
I have my copies, but I want to see if you can retrieve what I put in.
Okay, so then you can't do anything until next
Yeah.
month. You're
I
gonna,
mean,
if you wanna kick it down another month, we can do that.
There's two levels of documents. One is the appeal. That's what we need.
Yes.
The appeal should have it with it attached to it, the rejection by the building inspector.
Yes.
And that rejection may have other documentation. on
Yeah,
that.
we need
So we
that.
need the package for the appeal.
Yes.
And then anything else that the building inspector has to say. Right now, we don't know why it got diverted from us.
And we should look into it.
Should I be calling the building inspector and figuring this out?
Somebody, well, I think Mike can probably do it for us.
He's on vacation until Monday.
Okay, so why don't you figure out what's going on? And then, send the board an email giving us the information that.
And Alex may not know, but Alex is gonna have to research what Corey did.
Yes,
And then ultimately we'll find out either we'll get it or there may be some problem that wasn't, that's not been communicated, that was what.
Does do we have all your contact information?
Lord knows. I'll get it to. It's on the applications. If you're emailing me an internal check,
Okay. So we will do our due diligence to talk to the building inspector, okay, and then we'll find out what's going on. And then we'll tell you the steps you need to do in order to file an appeal with us. If that's what you want to do.
On the chance that there's no, do we have your address, your actual street address?
21 Mulberry Street,
Mulberry.
New Flats, New York, 12561.
I know, sorry, 20 Mulberry Street. So if that, if nothing else, what's that? So it's, so people communicate back in that essentially.
Okay, so my expectation is what? Somebody's gonna get in touch with me personally from the building department within a reasonable amount of time?
No,
No.
they're gonna you're gonna tell us what happened.
When the building inspector returns from his vacation on Monday, I will speak with him and try to get some answers and then.
You understand what we're driving at? The application, what was wrong with it, you know, what was wrong with it, et cetera.
Yeah.
We just can't give you a timeline until we get information, but we're asking to get the information, so we're gonna try to help.
I hear you.
Do you have an email?
Yeah, the one that they're using to be Ronald Turner's digits 13, Ronald Turner 13 at yahoo.com.
Okay,
Okay,
we'll try to figure out what's going on.
okay,
We'll get back to you.
I will await. All right. Thank you, Miss, for your indulgence.
My pleasure.
All right.
We'll try to help you here.
Sorry,
We'll try to help you here.
I see that, I see that.
All right, so I'd like to put a motion forward to, close this meeting.
Second.
All in favor? Aye,
Um,
please kill the video star.